Hello and welcome to Cross the Land 2021 Eastbound. Today we are located at Kastrup in Copenhagen, which is the capital of Denmark, and we are going to Kuwait International. So let us get going. We've got a lot to do if we have to make it to our calculated takeoff time, aka our slot time. So let us just connect the gate and get the aircraft powered up. I'm just going a little bit fast through this today because of course I had some technical difficulties just prior to starting the recording here, and of course I also had to move the stand because it was occupied, and we've only got about 20 minutes before we can expect to be cleared to start up. We'll start by grabbing the ATC. Okay, so the ATC is not online via voice, so I just received it via text. We have got information Delta, active runway 22 right, and QNH 1011. There's nothing really significant. So let us call for clearance. We are actually already a couple of minutes behind, as we had to call for clearance 20 minutes prior to our startup time, and our startup time today is 1026 Zulu. So let us call up Kastrup delivery.
And Kastrup delivery, good day, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, Boeing 752, stand Delta 4, requesting clearance to Kuwait International. We've got Delta on board, QNH 1011. Cleared to Kuwait via the KMAX 4 Charlie departure out of runway 22 right, initial climb is flight level 70 and squawk 1234, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Okay, well, this was the technical difficulties that I was talking about, knowing what is going to happen since this is done post-recording. But yes, the audio is gone. But I promise you it will be back later in the video. But I hope my readback was good enough to give you an idea of what the clearance sounded like. Just get an overview. So we gotta get some fuel on board and some passengers. We are bringing 23 tons. And we are bringing 155 passengers. So fuel weight 74.1 tons, and that is matching my sim brief numbers, so that is okay. We just gotta open the doors and load the aircraft. I forgot the fuel truck, probably the most important thing. Well, the loading is in process, so let us look a bit at the FMC. We are flying Sterling today. It is an airline that is not operating anymore. It's an old Danish charter airline actually. You might know it or you might not, but they had a terrible crash many years ago actually in Dubai. But I'll tell the story a little bit later when we are in cruise. So now let us focus on getting out of here on time, hopefully. But Sterling Airways did actually operate 757-200s from 1989 to 1994. And if you have seen my videos before, then you know that I normally fly the 757 with the glass cockpit. And today we are having the old school gauges. And the reason for that is that I am trying to replicate a Sterling aircraft as close as possible, and I actually found this amazing livery from Pit Designs, which included a list of tweaks or settings is probably more the word, which settings you had to use to actually make the aircraft as close as possible to the real thing. So this particular aircraft was delivered in 1991 for Sterling Airlines and sold already in 1993, and it's actually still flying today in the US. So we are almost in the simplest form of a 757, or the most old school one. We haven't even got a speed tape, we've got old school box, and we are also flying without GPS today. But in the sim, that actually does not mean that much, as the GPS is only kind of a secondary source. I did a little bit research on the subject before embarking on this journey today, and we are actually fully capable of doing an RNP approach or RNAV approach, call it what you want. But long story short, we are able to do an RNAV approach via the position given from the IRSs. Whether that would be legal in real life, I am not so certain, but I am no real-world pilot, so I wouldn't know. But luckily we are in a sim today. And we got the K-Max for Charlie departure. And for the arrival, what are we planning? We are planning at the moment 3-3 right, based on the weather in Kuwait, of course. We'll take the ILS Zulu 3-3 right, and our last waypoint is Elvax, so it will probably be the Elva 3 Charlie. Let us try it, and we can always alter it on the go. And we'll also take a look at the pilot's briefing while in cruise. I'll just give the route a quick look through here. Plan mode. We have some discontinuities here near the end, but that doesn't really concern me that much. We will look at it when we get there. So we can activate and we can execute. And our reserves today is 4 tons. Initial cruise flight level 350, we were having a step climb later to 370, and our cost index is 120. And the takeoff performance, and while we wait for our virtual load sheet, then let us get the APU running. See, the cabin temperature is about 19 degrees at the moment, so that is pretty comfortable for the passengers, so it's no problem there. Okay, so we have got some numbers. We are taking off flaps 5. As we do 99% of the times, and a D rate of 50 degrees or a selected temperature, and our V speeds 147, 150 and 153. And 4.0 is the trim for takeoff. We'll set the MCP, but just before we do that, let us get some air conditioning into the cabin. we can just turn on the hydraulics. We'll turn on the fuel pumps, and we've got something in the center tank as well. This one goes to auto, and auto rate here also to auto position. Get the seatbelt signs on and the no smoking. Initial climb plus flight level 70. We've only got 3 minutes, so we have actually a little bit behind schedule. And the initial heading to 17. So I don't know why the flight directors and the auto throttle, they are normally not on, but let us turn it all on here. All is good. Let us set the squawk, the easy one today, 1, 2, 3, 4. And let us get the APU on the bus and the ground power disconnected, and we'll turn on the anti-collision lights because we will now call the pushback.
Ground to cockpit, please show me where you want to go. Ground to cockpit, always driving up.
We'll set the QNH 1011. Click here to synchronize with the first officer, and we'll set the standby here 1011. The auto brakes to RTO. We'll turn on the transponder. And we can close all the doors, and we can remove all the equipment.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
It seems like we just might make it, so I'll just turn on the ATC once again.
And Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, stand Delta 4, we are fully ready. Apron on 121.625, tak skal du have, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
So now we have to contact Apron.
And Kastrup Apron, good day, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, stand Delta 4, request push and start. Hold position and we'll expect delay of 15 minutes, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
A delay of 15 minutes is pretty common during this kind of events. And we were actually only 2 minutes late for our scheduled pushback time.
Push and start approved, release point share 1, QNH 1011, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
We are parked here at Delta 4, and we are going to push back to push point share 1, which is this push point right behind us. Even though that this scenery by Flight Tampa is the most accurate rendition of Copenhagen that we have for X-plane, then for some reason share 1 is actually not visible physically on the scenery. Romeo 1 on the other hand, and plenty of the other push points, they are where they are supposed to be. But anyways, we'll just push back and try to stop kind of a beam Echo 24, and I think we'll be okay. And the engine start selector goes to ground. And then we will closely monitor the N3. Yes, it is the Rolls-Royce engines today. We have faults enabled. We really gotta look out for that N3 rotation. 25%, and then we'll introduce the fuel. And we had a successful start, so let us go ahead and start the other engine. and we got 2 successful engine starts. So the generators comes on the bus and the APU goes off.
Operation complete. Set parking brake. Disconnecting PAL.
And the engine bleeds goes on, APU bleed off, and the isolation valve off, and we can turn on the packs again. And recall, and we have got nothing that we are not aware of, so that all looks good. And the tow truck is about to disconnect, so let us get ready to do our flight control check.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time. Have a safe flight.
And the takeoff trim was 4.0. And we got the pin there. Just go ahead and set the flaps and then we'll call ready for taxi.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, we're ready for taxi. Hold position, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie. Follow the Egypt Air on Romeo, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
So the first step is to follow the Egypt Air on Romeo, which will take us this way here. But that Egypt Air was sure taxiing a lot faster than us, so we'll just hold short here at Romeo and await instructions because there is, it seems like there's traffic there.
Can you continue taxi via Yankee and Foxtrot and we'll hold short runway 12, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Okay, then we have been told to taxi continue via Yankee here, down to Foxtrot, and then as always here in Copenhagen we have to hold short runway 12.
Tower on 119.35, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, bye bye. Taxi to holding point Alpha 4, runway 22 right via Foxtrot and Alpha, cross runway 12, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
And now we have been transferred to Tower, and we are now cleared to cross runway 12 and continue via Foxtrot and Alpha. And then we'll just bring up the other chart. And we were crossing runway 12 over here at Alpha. Then we are told to taxi to holding point Alpha 4, runway 22 right. And that would be here. Since this is a pretty heavy aircraft that needs some that needs some length to take off, then I'll just run the calculations, and we'll take a look at it if alpha 4 is enough for the takeoff run. So if we look at this chart here, runway 22 right, we'll enter alpha 4, and we've got 3245 meters. Let us just plot that in to be on the safe side into airplane toolbox. $32.45, and we'll hit calculate. And the numbers, they seem to be identical here. It is still okay with a D rate of 50 degrees, or assumed temperature of plus 50, so that is no problem at all. So everything is okay, so we just gotta do the last bit of taxiing here.
To right, cleared for takeoff. After departure, contact the departure on 120.250. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie. Bye bye.
knots. V1 and rotate. Positive rate, gear up. And we had a successful takeoff. I'm just going to remain on the tower frequency until 1000 feet. Then we'll hit the autopilot and then we'll contact approach. Or departure is probably more appropriate today during this event.
Copenhagen approach. Good day. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie. Passing 1400 Kmax for Charlie. Left heading 070. Climb flight level 190. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
We have been put on a heading and we are now on our way. I'll just do a little time lapse here while we break through the clouds, and upon reaching 10,000 feet we'll have a little bit more time to talk, and then, as I promised, I will tell you about this great old airline here, and we'll of course talk about the mysterious crash that they had in Dubai back in 1972. The reason why I say mysterious crash is because there is actually not that much information on the crash itself compared to other crashes, and then we'll also briefly be talking about what you can expect on this channel in the near future. So stay tuned.
make very shortly. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, contact Sweden 131.275. Bye-bye.
Sweden on 131.275. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie. Bye-bye.
And now finally we are able to hear the ATC.
Sweden Control, good day. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie. Flight level 160, climbing 190, inbound Kimax.
Hello, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, Sweden Control identified. Flight level 280, direct PNR.
Climb flight level 280, direct PNR. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
No speed restrictions, figure 100.3. Grafton, West Middag, Qatar 7, Yankee Foxtrot, Sweden identified. Climb flight level 280. 280 och ja, god eftermiddag. Vanligt state Grafton.
And finally it's a little bit quiet. I've actually been pretty busy, so we are well above 10,000 feet. We are in cruise now, but I had a few directs and some frequency changes and stuff like that. But that is the charm about these events here, you never know what's going to happen. Well, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about what is going to happen on this channel in the near future. It's truly an exciting time for flight simming in general, and especially for X-Plane, because we have some really huge releases, that be the Dash 8 and the Tolis A340. And if you have been watching this channel before, then you know that I'm all about long haul. So you can probably guess that I am very excited to see a true long haul bird here for X-Plane 11. Of course there's also the feelers and the Inibuilds A300 and A310, but if you are in the market for a little bit newer long haul jet, then the A340 is a really great candidate. So as soon as I can get my hands on the Tolis, then you can of course expect a review on this channel of the A340. And hopefully, if I can secure a spot for this year's eastbound edition of the Cross the Pond, then we will of course take her across and see how she performs. However, the booking system for Cross the Pond has changed once again. Last year you could pick 3 airports in priority, and then it was kind of random who would be granted a slot and who would not. However, if you were unlucky the time before last time, then you'd have a slightly increased chance of getting a slot. This year, however, it is different yet again. I'm not 100% certain how it works out this year, but I have read the information that is available on the Cross the Pond website, and it seems like your CID, aka your VATSIM user account or user number, if you will, has some kind of rank, and the higher the rank, the earlier you may choose your slot. And at last, at a certain date, the rest of the slots are free for all and up for grabs. If there's anyone left, that is. And just for your information, for this year's edition 2021, the bookings have closed. So if you have not yet entered the lottery, as they call it themselves, then it's unfortunately too late. But how these ranks are determined, I have no idea. I could not find any information how these ranks are determined for the individual profile, but at least one guess I have is that if you flew last time on the westbound edition, then you probably have a lower rank than if you were not granted a slot last time. This year I am going from Washington to Helsinki, and I will of course be sharing my experience with you, as I will do a video and of course be uploading it on this channel. And if there's any subject or any specific thing that you'd like me to talk about or emphasize in the this year's edition of the eastbound Cross the Pond, then let me know in the comments section, and I'd be very happy to do so. If you just can't wait, or you want to see how it's done before trying it out for yourself, then click the link /card up in the corner. That will take you to my crossing during this year's westbound event. And at last, if you enjoyed this video and you like long haul content, then leave me a like and subscribe to the channel so we can do more long flights together. And now, let us talk about the airline that we are flying today. And let us talk about the tragic accident that happened back in 1972. If you're only here for this VATSIM flight and you are not really interested in hearing the story about Sterling Airways, then don't worry, I have put timestamps down below. Feel free to skip ahead. You are not going to miss out on anything that is related to this flight. Here goes. So, Sterling Airways, if you do not know it, was a Danish charter company which was founded in 1962 by a priest and an engineer coming from a job in Scandinavian Airlines. The company was the next biggest airline in Denmark. The only company in Denmark that was bigger was Scandinavian Airlines. And at the time it was actually the world's biggest private-owned charter company. Sterling Airways operated under this name from the start in 1962 until they went bankrupt in 1993. By this time it was much more common to travel southbound by bus, so the goal of the company was to fly these charter tourists south to destinations in Europe and also more exotic destinations. And just a little fun fact, the name Sterling actually came from sterling silver, and that was actually because one of the founders' mother was fascinated by the quality and the sturdiness of sterling silver. So that is how they got their name. And then some of you who know the airline might say, but they operated longer than to 1993, and that is true. In the end of 2005, Sterling had 1,600 employees and 29 airplanes and flew more than 40 destinations in Europe, with Copenhagen, Stockholm, Oslo and Helsinki being the central hubs. But anyhow, operating under the name of Sterling Airways ended in 1993, and since then they had undergone some fusions, and they have also been bought by other companies. I am not going to get more into that now. The bottom line is that they are not flying anymore. But anyhow, that is the historical aspect. In 1962 they started with 2 Douglas DC-6 props, and in 1965 they received the first of their jet aircraft, and that was a Super Caravelle, which was their preferred aircraft type. So what has this got to do with aviation? Well, nothing really, but for this particular crash, I actually think that the historical aspect is quite important to understand the time, which in my opinion was a contributing factor. So back in the 70s, the wheels was really turning. More and more people was able to afford a charter holiday, and they were insanely busy. It was a very, very good time back then for charter airlines in general, and especially for Sterling Airways. Already in 1970, passenger number 1 million was boarding a Sterling aircraft. So the mentality in the company was like nothing could go wrong and the only way is up, because of the huge success and because of the loads of money they were making at the time. Just a quick side note. This does not reflect my personal opinion on the matter. This is based on the statements from experts and earlier employees of Sterling Airways, and this is based upon a documentary that aired on Danish television some years ago. I actually got the idea to bring you the story when I was searching for a Sterling Airways livery. I actually stumbled upon an article about the crash, and then I thought I would do some research on the topic, and the information about this crash is actually not so widely available. I was actually not able to find anything in English, so I thought this would maybe be interesting to some of you who might not have heard about this particular incident before. Anyways, the year is 1972, the 14th of March, flight 296 from Ceylon, now called Sri Lanka of course, to Kastrup, Copenhagen. The aircraft was a supercarvel, like the one you see on the picture. This being a short to medium haul aircraft, which means that they had to do a few technical stops, so-called, actually refueling stops. So the route would have looked something like this. This is of course just something that I have created in little nav map and does not reflect the actual routing. However, the first leg was from Ceylon or Sri Lanka to Bombay, of course nowadays Mumbai, then to Dubai, then to Ankara in Turkey, and then at last at home in Copenhagen. The first leg went without any trouble from Sri Lanka to Mumbai, and they were now taking off from Mumbai towards Dubai, and it was here the trouble started. The crew that was flying this flight was not that experienced. The captain, it was actually the captain's first time on the Ceylon route as a captain, but he had earlier been flying the route several times as FO and had done landings in Dubai in daylight and one time in the night on runway 12. The FO, on the other hand, was called in as a standby pilot and had not been flying the Ceylon route before. And he was probably the pilot flying and probably the pilot that was doing the landing on this fateful flight. In the cockpit was also a machinist, but no navigator. It was actually quite normal back then that there was a navigator in the cockpit because there was no GPS at that time and no FMS, so navigating was quite the challenge as they only had the help from VORs and NDBs, and ahead of them was 3 hours over open water over the Indian Ocean. The reason why there was a machinist in the cockpit was because of the many refueling stops, and his task was actually to oversee the refueling process and to make sure that everything went smoothly when refueling. So the way that they were navigating across the Indian Ocean was via radio navigation, which kind in particular is unknown to me, and they were also using reporting points that they reported to ATC upon reaching. And these reporting points they were called salmon, seahorse, blue whale, dolphin and spearfish. And these were not actually waypoints as we know them today. As far as I understand, they were actually radials, so the old school way, when crossing a radial, you would report that waypoint. Already about the first waypoint, they were in trouble. They were 4 minutes ahead of schedule without knowing it. They were actually both 4 minutes early and drifting away from their intended route. By the time they reached Dubai, they were actually 150 kilometers north of their intended path. Today they were landing on runway 30, which the pilot flying had not tried before, and neither had the captain. He had only done landings on runway 12. They were requesting a straight-in approach for runway 30, which meant that they had to cross the mountainous terrain on the easterly coast of the peninsula before the flat desert on the western side of the peninsula. The mountains behind the two cities of Fujairah and Kalba is about 600 to 800 meters tall. The weather had been really bad in the previous days. It has been raining a lot, and the weather in the coastal areas was cloudy and overcast with some cumulonimbus clouds. but that was not a factor because in the mainland, so to speak, it was almost clear skies. The air traffic control in Dubai asked Flight 296 to report when they had the field in sight. Flight 296 then reported that they had some problems with the NDB for runway 30, and they was then told by air traffic control in Dubai that there was some problems with the antenna because of a enlargement of the runway. That ATC suggested the other systems, that be VOR and ILS. The air traffic controller in Dubai then received nothing but static from Flight 296 and asked once again if they had the field in sight. Seconds later, Flight 296 answered the call and told that they had some weird indications from the VOR and it was deviating a lot. And that was the last thing that air traffic control heard from Flight 296. Then 6 minutes later, after trying to reach Flight 296 several times, the controller at Dubai reported to Bahrain Radar that they had lost radio contact with Flight 296. Some inhabitants in the city of Kalba reported seeing a very low flying aircraft flying towards the west at around 18 Zulu. The aircraft hit a mountaintop and continued on into another mountaintop where it burst into flames. There were no phones in the area around the time of the crash, so some inhabitants from the city tried to reach the crash site in a Land Rover, but they had to give up because of the car getting stuck in the mud. Some inhabitant of the small village of Heil in the mountains heard a tremendous crash, but the rain up there was strong, it was dark, and there had been a lot of thunder, so they actually thought that it was, thunder and not a plane crash. What actually happened was Flight 296 had descended to around 500 meters, which is lower than the mountains. The left wing of the aircraft had hit a mountain ridge very close to the village of Heil. The wing broke off by the wheel well, and the aircraft was banking to the left and continued on for 265 meters directly into another mountain ridge where the aircraft was totally destroyed. The wreckage fell down about 300 meters down to a valley where it was scattered over a hostile terrain 5 to 6,000 square meters, and then it burst into flames. The crash was so violent that there was no chance of survival at all. All 106 passengers and 6 crew members had lost their lives. So what did actually happen on that fateful night? Having no cockpit voice recorder and no flight data recorder, that was a really hard job for the investigators. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about the conclusion. The first aspect was the flight plan and the briefing that the pilots received. There was actually a revised edition of the flight plan on this particular route, but the pilots, they had the older version. That meant that the flight plan was based on a Pratt & Whitney jet engine of the type JT8D-7. However, Oscar Yankee Sierra Tango Lima was equipped with more powerful engines, the Pratt & Whitney JT8D-9 engines. To add to that, the last reporting point before reaching Dubai had actually also changed a little bit, which meant that the distance to the airport was not the same as the pilots was expecting, but according to the sources it was only slightly. As I said earlier, there were no FDR and no CVR, so investigators could not be 100% certain what had actually happened in the cockpit, but they were strongly suspecting that the weather radar was used as a navigational aid. This was at the time only meant to be used as a secondary backup, just to back up the other systems. This was apparently common practice back then, and it was commonly known that using the weather radar when flying towards the coastline of this peninsula could create some confusion and lead to a misjudgment. And the reason for that is that behind the mountainous coastline there is a flat desert, and that did not create any echo, which could lead to a misjudgment of about 25 nautical miles or 46 kilometers. Any actual bad weather in the region, which was actually reported on that night, would also kind of blur the contours of the coastline. This phenomenon, together with the older flight plan and a lack of newer briefing, might have led to confusion and the pilots believing they were somewhere that they were actually not. Another known fact is that the cities of Guraifa, Fujairah and Kalba could create the illusion of actually being Dubai. A part of Fujairah consists of 2 long rows of houses. In between these rows there were 19 light poles 40 meters apart, with each carrying 1 lamp on top. These lamps in between the rows, together with the street lights, was even oriented the same direction almost as runway 30 in Dubai. Seen through a broken cloud layer, this could easily create the illusion of Dubai Airport. When passing over the coast, we know for a fact that Flight 296 was expressing concerns about the NDB, and that way we know that they were probably using the ADF to get an indication of how close and where they were in relation to the airport. We know that the crew of Flight 296 was trying to use the VOR as well. Another known fact is at an altitude of 3,200 feet, the VOR at Dubai became unreliable. Another fact backing up the theory about them thinking that the 3 towns was actually Dubai is that they stayed down in a low altitude even after passing the coast. Investigators could not determine how far they were in the before landing checklist or if they were initiating a missed approach. However, hard evidence does not point in that direction. Just before the crash, a climb of 600 to 700 feet per minute was initiated. The emergency checklist was found stowed away, so we know for a fact that they were not using the emergency checklist. So to summarize, the final report from the authorities conclude that the cause of the accident was that the aircraft was flown under the minimum prescribed altitude, caused by that the pilots thought that they were closer to the airport than they actually were, due to the fact that they had a too old flight plan, or due to the fact that they misinterpret the weather radar, or a combination of both. Together with the pilots seeing the 3 towns of Fujairah, Guraifa and Kalba, and thereby confirmed their perception about their position in relation to Dubai Airport. A really tragic accident, and really hard to move on from talking about such a heavy subject. You have probably already noticed, but the pictures shown throughout this section here of the video is actually pictures of the aircraft that was involved in the accident. I hope that you have found this segment about Flight 296 exciting, but now we gotta get on with our flight. So let us enjoy the sunset and enjoy a time lapse, and then I'll be back with you when we are doing our approach into Kuwait International. Thank you for flying with me.
Charlie, make the left and heading 240. Correction, right on 240.
Right turn heading 240, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Okay, we have initiated our descent and it seems like we are being vectored around a little bit, but there is also plenty of traffic around us. While we were in cruise, I had plenty of time to give the pilot's briefing a thorough look through, so let us talk about that and get an overview of what is going to happen during the last phases here. Let us take a quick look at the pilot's briefing here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, we'll just talk about the things that is most important. First off, we are coming from Baghdad, so we can expect flight level 230 because today's active runways is the 33s. So, in best case scenario, we'll remain on the star and be cleared down to 3000 feet. Prior to the initial approach fix, this confused me a little bit because Ginby, that is according to the chart, it is an intermediate fix. Let us take a quick look at the chart. I can show you what I am talking about. If we look at the chart here for ILS Yankee runway 33 right, then we have Taptoe here as initial approach fix and Ginby here as an intermediate fix. That confused me a little bit when programming the box, but it all seems to make sense now. Anyhow, that is what we can expect. We can expect the ILS Yankee approaches via the initial approach fix, and once the clearance is given, it is our responsibility to follow the vertical profile down to the runway, essentially descend and intercept altitude on your own after passing the initial approach fix, and then to intercept the glide slope, of course. So that means it is going to be our responsibility. We are not going to be babied all the way down. And of course, as it's written here, vectoring may occur, and then of course we could be vectored and then re-cleared to the initial approach fix, or be vectored all the way to the localizer.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, make the right turn heading 070.
Right turn heading 070, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
And Emirates 291, can we request Timelapse helicopter, please? Emirates 291, that's approved. Call back. Thank you, we'll call them back. 291.
It seems like we are doing a 360.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, right turn heading 130.
Right turn heading 130, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Well, let us just get on with our briefing. So there's really not that much to it, and of course we have to adhere to our assigned airspeeds and altitudes, as the volume of traffic might be high, so we'll be under speed control until 4 miles from touchdown. So that is pretty straightforward, that is pretty normal. Let us look at some more charts to get a better overview, and we can also see in the briefing here that we can expect LVAX 3 Charlie. So that is what I programmed in the box for now. So let us look at the chart. This is the LVAX 3 Charlie. Starts off obviously at LVAX, and then we will go to Taptoe, and possibly from there via Ginby, and then on to the ILS. Could of course also be Rava here if we are using the other runway. So that is pretty straightforward. There's not really that much to it. I'll just be looking at the approach chart here once again. That is again Taptoe and then Ginby. That is pretty straightforward. I'll take a quick look at the airport. Most likely landing on 33 right, and we should be vacating either via Echo 4 or Echo 5. That is also not that hard, and the airport looks actually really complicated here, and I have not been to Kuwait before actually, so I don't really know where we are going, but we'll of course just get the instructions from ground when we get so far. Well, I think that covers the briefing. Let us continue.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, just confirm you're on the heading of 130.
We are turning right now to the heading of 130, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, can contact back at 123.0.
We'll contact Baghdad on 123.0, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
I think at this altitude we are actually restricted on auto to a bank angle of 10 degrees. So that will take some time to do a complete turnaround.
Baghdad Control, good evening, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, flight level 320, heading 130.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, Baghdad, good afternoon. Just confirm your inbound Uldor.
Negative, we were assigned a heading of 130 degrees.
Okay, in that case, clear direct Sidat.
And clear direct Sidat, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
And well, yes, we did a 360 orbit just before. I don't actually know if they do that in jets in real life, but last time I did it on VATSIM it was in a Cessna 172.
I'm Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, when ready, descend flight level 230 to be level by Sidat.
When ready, descend flight level 230 to be leveled at Sidat, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
That was just as we were expecting actually.
And Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, continue descent to flight level 200.
And continue down to flight level 200, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Oh, we are almost at Sidat. I have received information India and we have been transferred to Kuwait Control, so let us give them a call.
And Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, flight level 210, descending flight level 200, overhead Sidat, information India on board.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, Kuwait, welcome to the party, taxi, exact distance, my brain is going away. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, redirect to Ralka, and to the hold at Ralka, Romeo Alpha, Lima Kilo Alpha.
Proceed direct to Ralka and hold at Ralka, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, descend flight level 180.
Descend flight level 180, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Okay, hold at Ralka. Ralka is certainly not in our flight plan, but I have to check if there is a published hold procedure, else I'm just going to do a computed hold via the FMC. Okay, so I'm really studying the charts here, but I don't see any Ralka hold. I can see a hold here at Taptoe, a published hold, and at Pedal here as well, but I don't see any Ralka. So I checked the ILS chart as well, or the approach chart, sorry, and it is the same here. See the published hold for Taptoe here as well, and Ludim up here. That is of course the end of the missed approach procedure. So I think I just want to confirm with ATC that it actually is Ralka. I know he even spelled it out for us, but I just need to be sure since I can't really find it. From time to time it can also happen that a mistake has been made from ATC side, that you are maybe mistaken for being another aircraft. So I just want to clarify with ATC, but in this particular case I guess it's just me not seeing something that I'm supposed to.
And Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, could you confirm the direct for us? I think we wrote it down wrong.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, no worries, enter the hold at Ralka, Romeo Alpha, Lima Kilo Alpha.
Direct to and enter the hold at Romeo Alpha Lima Kilo Alpha. Thank you. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, correct descent flight level 150, expect further clearance time 1615.
Roger that, and we'll descend flight level 150, Sterling 1 Charlie.
Okay, so that is ruled out. It is Ralka, but I still don't see it, so I guess he means a computed hold, so that is what we are going to do.
Wait, radar queued evening about 8 of 8, going felt to 150. MSA 58, correct, hello, radar contact, climb via the SIV altitude 10,000 feet, QNH 1004. Well, climb via the SIV altitude 10,000 feet, QNH 1004, Brits 8 from 8.
Okay, just as I hit execute, I just found what I was looking for, and let me show you what it is. I found it on another chart, the Ralka 3 Charlie arrival, and we are not on that arrival. But anyways, we have the Ralka hold right here, with an inbound course of 275 degrees. So I bet that is what he wants us to do, even though it says here that holding is only for Ralka 3 Delta. But I think we will change the hold, and the reason for that is normally when ATC wants you to hold in a way that is not published, then you will often be told the inbound course or the radial at which you are going to hold, and we were provided with neither. That is why I was assuming that it had to be some kind of published hold. So I will hurry up and change the inbound course to 275, and so let us see how this goes. I just had to do it in the background while talking because we were basically beginning to enter the hold as I found the other chart there. But as you can see, then it's kind of different what we got, or well, the published hold. But it seems like it's all working out okay.
Setting 1 Papa Charlie, descent flight level 150.
Descend flight level 150, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
MSA 58, climb flight level 1, correction, set on. I'm altitude 3,000 feet, QNH 1004. Setting 1 Papa Charlie, thank you for your patience. Cancel the hold, turn right heading 170 degrees.
Turn right heading 170 degrees and cancel the hold, no problem, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Oh well, it did seem like our little hold mishap here went alright anyways, because I have not heard anything from ATC, so let us just assume that everything's okay.
Setting 1 Papa Charlie, descend to altitude 5,000 feet, QNH 1004.
Down to 5,000 feet on QNH 1004, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Setting 1 Papa Charlie, speed 250 knots.
Speed 250 knots, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie. Kuwait approach, good evening, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, 8,000 feet, descending 5,000 feet, heading 170.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, Kuwait approach, expect ILS, runway 33 right, turn left heading 150.
Expect ILS approach, runway 33 right, and will turn left heading 150, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Okay, so it's 33 right, and it seems like we'll be getting vectors.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, turn right heading 240.
Right heading 240, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, turn right heading 300.
Right heading 300, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, continue descent 3,000 feet, clear the ILS 33 right.
Down to 3,000 feet, cleared ILS 33 right, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
And Union 2203, speed 150 knots.
Speed 150 knots, Union 2203.
So we are pretty close. I just think I will clean up the box a little.
Iraqi 178, approaching. Descend 3,000 feet. Descend 3,000, Rocky 178.
That looks about right.
Emirates 319, speed 160 knots until 60 ME, contact tower 118.3, goodbye. Speed 160 knots until 60, contact tower 118.3, thank you, goodbye. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, speed 180 knots.
Speed 180 knots, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Iraqi 178, speed 160 knots. Speed 160, Iraqi 178.
And it seems like the localizer is coming alive now.
We'll approach run out to Full Tango.
Run out to Full Tango, forward approach. Continue descent 6,000 feet, turn right. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, speed 160 knots until 60 ME, contact tower 118.3, goodbye.
160 until 60 ME and tower 118.3. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, goodbye.
Kuwait 3205, turn right heading 300. Turn right heading 300.
Kuwait Tower, good evening, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, ILS 33 right.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, Kuwait Tower, plan to vacate Echo 4, continue approach.
We plan to vacate via Echo 4 and continue approach, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, expect late landing clearance.
Expect late clearance, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Vacate via Echo 4 as it was written in the pilot's briefing, and a late landing clearance. That is always exciting. Just about 6 miles final, so let us dial back the speed.
Emirates 319, expedite vacating, contact ground 121.7. 178, negative. Rocky 178, continue approach. Continue approach.
1,000.
Rocky 178, traffic is on a 4-mile final for the opposite for the other runway, parallel runway, at your 1 o'clock 3 miles.
I'll just set the missed approach altitude.
Stand by. Rocky 178, have traffic inside.
Vacated runway.
Uni 2203, contact ground 121.7, hold short, Echo 1. Uni 2203, hold short, Echo 1, contact ground 121.7.
This is getting close.
121.7, hold short, Echo 1.
Rocky 178, Papa Charlie, clear to land.
Clear to land, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Oh, that was nice. I was really not in the mood for a go-around.
Rocky 178, have the traffic inside. Rocky 178, runway 33 left, clear to land. 33 left, clear to land, Rocky 178.
Tango on Canvas.
Ryanair 24 Tango Kuwait Tower, very good evening. Continue approach 33 right, expect to vacate Echo 4. The wind 350 degrees 7 knots.
Continue approach, expect Echo 4 to vacate Ryanair 24.
Echo 4 must be the next one. Yep, that seems right.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, contact ground 121.7, welcome to Kuwait.
Ground on 121.7, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, thank you. Kuwait ground, good evening, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie on Echo 4.
Destination, say call sign only.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, velkommen til Kuwait. Taxi via Echo 1 and Echo 9 to Whiskey 17 to state 5.
Tak skal du have. Taxi via Echo 1, Echo 9, Whiskey 17 to stand 5. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Well, what do we have here in Kuwait? That seems like a familiar voice there on the frequency. Okay, so we are here at Echo 4. Then we should continue here via Echo 1. Then turn here at Echo 9 to Whiskey 17. And then let us just look at the other chart. And we'll be coming in here via Whiskey 17, and then it's the first stand here, stand 5.
Unit 223, can you confirm directions to Echo 9, please? I've got Echo 8, but not 9.
You are currently on Echo 9. You need to do a right hand to Whiskey 17 to stand 1 for Unit 2203. Unit 223, copy. Kuwait ground, right about Iraqi 178, Whiskey 5, holding short Whiskey 1. Iraqi 178, Khair Bay, taxi via Whiskey 1, correction Whiskey 5, Whiskey 7 and to Whiskey 19. After that, left to Whiskey 14, Whiskey 16 to stand 26. Stand 26 via Whiskey 5, Whiskey 7, Whiskey 19, Whiskey 14, Whiskey 16, ranking 178.
Speedbird 858, request pushback.
Speedbird 858, pushback is approved. Scott. Speedbird 858 after the Union Airbus A321 Neo from the left hand over to right. Push back approved to the southeast. Connection 1005.
I think it was probably there we had to turn.
Speedbird 858, after the traffic, pushback approved facing southeast. QH 1005.
Yep, it was definitely before we had to turn. I don't know why I got in my head that there must be a taxiway more here in between the buildings, but oh well, that was wrong. I just think the signs there at the previous taxiways was a bit misleading. Well, I'll just continue for a little bit, see if there's somewhere we can do a 180, and then we'd better contact ATC.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, you have to wrong turn. You need to, or just discard, you can just take a gate stand 42 if you want.
And Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, I was almost about to call you. I think we missed our turn, but we could just take any stand here. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, affirm.
Thank you, and sorry about that. Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
No problem, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie. Rocky 178, just to let you know, we have issues with our scenery. We have missing taxiway, so I think we are Whiskey 6 right now.
I'm happy to hear I'm not the only one. Seems like also when you listen to the other planes that this is probably not the most accurate scenery, but it's freeware and it's actually really beautiful and really well made. Of course, it's hard to see here at night time, but yeah.
And last station, say call sign only. Delta Whiskey Charlie 33. Delta Whiskey Charlie 33. Hello and welcome to Kuwait. Taxi via Whiskey 17. Here's the Whiskey 7, and after that right turn to Whiskey 19er, left Whiskey 14, and left again to Whiskey 17 to stand free.
Delta Whiskey Charlie 33, repeat that please once.
Delta Whiskey Charlie 33, sure, you can taxi right ahead.
It seems like we ended up at the VIP section actually. And off goes the engines and the fuel pumps. And then we gotta unload the plane. And let us sign off with the controller.
And Sterling 1 Papa Charlie is on blocks. I think we ended up at the VIP. We have some missing signage as well on our scenery, I think. But anyways, thank you for a great event and see you soon.
Sterling 1 Papa Charlie, all them coming from Denmark, they are also VIP. God aften.
Indeed, god aften, Sterling 1 Papa Charlie.
Well, this flight is coming to an end. It has sure been a great event, as it almost always is. I just want to thank you a lot for flying with me, and I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you had, then consider leaving me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more content, then subscribe to the channel. I hope you want to fly with me another time. Next time will be Cross the Pond, where we will be going from Washington to Helsinki in Finland, and hopefully in the Tolis A340. I just can't wait. And at last, leave a comment, tell me what you think. Is there something we can change to make the videos better? Or is there something you'd like me to explain, or something you always wondered you would like maybe an explanation to that? Then leave me a comment, now is your chance, then maybe we can talk about it in the next video. Once again, thank you for watching and see you next time.